Good morning, my beauties, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A Crystal Clear Mind. Today, I am very lucky to have with me Marie Smith. Hi, Marie.
Hello.
Marie is a fabulous, multi-talented lady, as pretty much everybody I have on here is. She is an aerial search and rescue operator, but she's also a therapist and coach. And now she's also set up her own open water swimming community as well. So, as always, I'm just going to pass it over to Marie so she can tell us all about herself because she can do herself so much more justice than I can. I'll leave it with you, my darling. Take it away.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on here. And hello to everyone that's listening as well. I think I'll start where I found myself in a very, I suppose, difficult position where I was burnt out and I was unfortunately suffering with anxiety and depression. And the most important thing for me is when I look back to that time, it really enabled me to eventually, through recovery and working on myself, and getting the help that I needed, was to look back and understand how I ended up in that position. But then moving forward and beyond that is, what I needed to do to, I suppose, heal, grow and move on from that. So if I say about, I was burnt out and I'd been signed off from my job for 8 weeks, and I sat there and I thought, wow, 8 weeks off from work, what am I going to do
It's
with this?
quite a long time.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, up until that moment in time, my coping mechanism was to work harder, faster. You know, um, Everything and anything that had happened in my past, I'd just buried and just sort of head down and just
Pushed
carried
on
on
through.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's not a great idea, but for so many of us, it's a way of coping. So growing up, if I go back and, growing up, had a really happy childhood. And unf unfortunately, there was an incident with my dad, when I was about 9 years old. He'd been out, drinking at his local pub, and, there'd been an incident that evening, and, he was a victim of an attack,
Wow.
and that caused some, turbulence within the family, I suppose, like it would with any of us. There's a traumatic event. And when you're a child and you think, the world's a happy, wonderful place. And I then realized that, things can happen and it can throw things up, for all of us. And going on from there, I sort of had fun at school and I was a little bit mischievous. So I would like chat away and be easily distracted. But I just didn't get on at school. I struggled to learn. I didn't enjoy it. And unfortunately, I ended up failing most of my exams. I think
You know
I
what? That's actually a really, really common theme with a lot of the people that I talk with that now
yeah.
they will learn anything and everything that interests them. They're great learners. They're now teaching things. They're teaching
Yeah.
people these amazing skills. But at school, we were all exactly that person, kind of fidgety. We wouldn't fit into the box. You know, oh, could do better, on the report and
Yeah.
everything else. We were those people. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. And it kind of it stuck with me for quite a few years because I felt like, oh, I'm just not good at learning,
Yeah.
I'm I'm not that clever. And I kind of just thought I would never be good at any of that. And like what you've just said there, years later, I went on to study and do all these different courses and learn all these different, tools, techniques, um, and I think it's so important for us to explore and not stay within that kind of. I can see how people get trapped within,
Yeah.
maybe what's happened to them in the past because it's always with the beliefs. It's not always about what happened. It's about the beliefs that are formed during that time. Um, but I then got in with a wrong crowd, where I grew up in East London, and it seemed fun at the time. You know, we were just going to the pub all the time, and a lot of the people I was were hanging around with were older, like an older group of people. And whilst it was fun, and I was always working hard, I had a job in a Korean bank in London for a
Oh,
little
wow.
while. Yeah, a bit random. I got it through office temping, and I did a few little jobs like that. But I had this thing where I was hanging around with the wrong group, and I thought I need to change here. I need to, because I didn't want to go down the same avenue really as these guys were, and I was heading down that way, but I just didn't know what I could do because having failed most of my exams and um but it came to me when I went out shopping one day, and I was looking, just in the back of my mind, looking and thinking about, I need a job that I can move away from the area because then I'm not going to be tempted to hang around with the
Yeah.
same people. It needs to be a good job opportunity. I need to be able to have a roof over my head. And that's when I saw the Army Careers Office. And I mean, I didn't know what a regiment, a corps, I didn't know anything about the army. Um, and I just went in and I signed up. And, I
It's
remember
incredible
going.
though, isn't it? You
Yeah,
literally asked for it and you got it. You know, someone
yeah,
literally takes me away, gets me out of here. Okay, here you go.
yeah, and
That's amazing.
it just almost, like, appeared, and when I saw it, you know, I'd never thought about it before, but when I saw it, I was like, "This is it. This is my opportunity."
That's
Um,
incredible.
and like so many people that I met in the army, it sounds a bit, I don't know, like so many of us, you join not wanting to go to war or do anything like
Yeah.
that. You join because you know you're going to get good training, you're going to get to travel. You know, if you play sports and things like that, you get to represent the army. And I did sprint a marathon kayaking for the army, and you get to do loads of fun things like that. And you get trained up. So yeah, I mean, when I went back home and said to my mum, you know, "Oh, mum, I've joined the army," and she was like, "What?" You know, she just couldn't believe it. So, um, but it was the best thing that I did, because I just met the most amazing people. I got to travel. Unfortunately, I did go to Iraq. I'd only been at my unit for about 3 months after did my training. So I was
Oh
19,
gosh.
19, 20, maybe 20 years of age, 3 months at my new unit, and, you know, they were, "We're going to Iraq." So that was quite frightening. I'd say especially for my parents, actually, more so.
Very
And
eye-opening as well though. For a
yeah,
19-year-old, you know.
yeah, yeah, it was something wasn't expecting because there hadn't been, I don't
Yeah.
think, a conflict for quite some time. Um, but I went out there and there were 60 odd men. There was another lady that was initially there, but she went back home early. And then, so it was just me with a
Oh,
group.
wow.
And then we'd be in smaller groups then, you know, in various locations. But definitely eye opening, definitely it makes you, you know, you have your training, you have your kit, you're surrounded by people that, even if, you know, we all have different personalities, you know, and likes and dislikes and things like that. But when you work in this group of people, you know, you have each other's backs regardless of
Yeah.
everything and anything else. Um, but you know, I only did about 4 years in the army because I met my husband whilst I was in the army, and he was in York, sorry, where we were based. So we met whilst we were based at York, and about a year later, we were expecting our first child. So it all
Oh,
happened
wow.
really quite quickly. So, but that had meant that I'd got out of the army. So to have my first child, and then we had our second child. Um, so I then became a housewife. But
And did
even
he
just
still do the army?
no, so he stayed in for about 11 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So, and we lived in Germany for a couple of years, and then we ended up coming back to the UK. And when we were in the UK, that's when, you know, a job came up for the Ministry of Defence as like a civil servant. And my mum had said she would help out with the children. So I was really lucky in that way that I had that support network. And, you know, my parents helped look after the children whilst I could then pursue a career in the MOD. Lots of juggling, but, you know, it's, I just learnt so much from it, and it gave us the flexibility because my husband and I were both doing shift work. But what I was finding was happening when sort of, you know, fast forward a few years and I find myself there and I'm burnt out, um, is that things that I'd experienced, as a teen, um, that I'd like during my time in the military as well.
Yeah.
There's various things along the way, and then also I'd been caring for a loved one that was quite poorly, and you know, you speak to people and you're trying to get the right help and the right support, and you know, you're trying everything you can, even you know, if you're trying to pay private and you're trying to get all the resources that you can, and sometimes it feels like that may not be enough, and living in that way for a couple of years of desperately trying to, I suppose, spin all the plates,
Yeah.
um, caring for someone else.
Whilst trying to keep your stuff down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and and like I say, it's so many of us bury things, and you know,
Yeah.
it never stays buried. And I came to a point where I suppose it was a bit like Pandora's box, and it kind of just all exploded. Hence, when I had the conversation with, it was a occupational psychologist, I thought I did a good job of saying, you know, this is happening, that's happening, but this is what I'm doing about it. And I'd always been quite resilient, determined, I'd say, you know, like real sort of grit. But I think what all that had done, those traits or qualities, that had got me through a lot of things that had happened.
Yeah.
But
It got you
you
to there.
yeah, and then I'd
Yeah.
kind of it had just gone. It,
Yeah.
you know, and so at that moment in time when I heard about having those 8 weeks off, I then realised I have to slow down. I have
Mm.
to confront and actually deal with things that had happened previously. Um, and, you know, I tried talking therapy. You know, I don't mind saying that I've tried antidepressants as well. I think I was quite willing to try different things because also what had happened is that like so many of us, you know, there's unhealthy things where we'll just sit and binge watch TV. We'll just be drinking because it helps us, you know, be relaxed. Some people like to do lots of online shopping, whatever it is that moves us away from that state of stress or whatever will form unhealthy habits. And
Yeah, it's that quick dopamine fix, isn't it? It's that quick thing that makes you feel good in the moment. As you say, you got drugs, you're drinking,
yeah,
bad
yeah.
food, takeaways, online shopping, just spending money in general. And you've got all the typical things that, you know, we all know are bad for us. It's very hard to break those habits and break that bond as well. So you can still drink, but
Yeah.
you need to be broken of the bond of, "I have to have a drink to feel good after a shit day, after something's
Yeah.
gone wrong," you know, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it is, it's really hard, and those habits to change those habits is really hard as well.
Yeah, and for some people, you know, I think it was Gabor Mate, and he said you know, people often say if someone's got an alcohol dependency, or you know, instead of saying to people, you know, why do you drink, or you know, why are you drinking, it's like, what caused the pain, you know, because a lot of people use these things, even if it's lightly, to numb that, to distract
Um,
them.
yeah,
And, you know, you can, and I think to a certain extent, I'd been doing that. You know, I'd experimented when I was younger. Um, and I know when we're younger, experimenting is it can be a natural thing. But I'd gone
it
through all these
depends on
different,
how, doesn't it?
well, yeah,
Yeah,
they are very true. And I think I'd kind of tried all these different things, and like even before, you know, being sat with that occupational psychologist, I would regularly have a few drinks and I saw that as relaxing. But actually, it started to get to the point where the hangovers, even though I wasn't drinking that much, and I don't know if it's as we get older, and I think especially as women, I don't know if
Definitely.
yeah, and
Definitely.
that was then making the depression even worse.
Mhm.
And then when you're on antidepressants, I know on the ones that I was on, for sure, you're not meant to
No, not supposed to
drink on
drink.
them. No, so I, like I say, stopped drink. Well, I don't know if I said sorry, but I stopped drinking. I then went on to antidepressants, but had talking therapy. But then I started to explore, well, what else is there? Because everything I've done up till now has only been sort of putting a plaster over everything. It's
Yeah.
been containing it. So I I remember going to my first sound bath or gong bath.
God,
Yeah.
I love a sound bath. Also, just the word sound bath makes me
Yeah.
feel really calm. I can almost hear it in the back of my head. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
love them. Absolutely love them. They're just the most wonderful things. You feel like you've gone on a flight, don't
Yeah.
you? Got like a
And
trip without the drugs.
well, that's it. And before, me being sat there, um, and sort of having, ended up in the position that I was at, I'd never really looked at the other side of the holistic side of
No,
things.
no.
I think I kind of liked the sound of it, but just never had explored it. And all of a sudden, I find myself, or found myself, laying there in this local Buddhist center. They would hire out the room, and people would do these sound baths. And at that moment in time, it actually felt like I had electricity running through
Yeah.
my body. My brain, it felt like jelly on a plate all the time. I must have been in like fight or flight. And I was lying down, and I remember for the first few minutes thinking, "Oh my god, what have I done? I've finally sort of, lost it," sort of thing. And I remember being woken up because they play these sounds at the end to kind of bring you back. And I'd gone off to this place, and I still haven't experienced that same feeling. I think because I was so
So in
tense.
need. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just ended up in tears. I was absolutely
Wow.
sobbing because I'd felt a sense of calm, stillness, peace that I hadn't felt for a couple of years at that moment in time. And I wanted to go back there. I wanted to be back in there. Um,
Brilliant.
and that got me starting to think about doing things like yoga, meditation. I did a course in Reiki. I think it was like levels 1 and 2, and another course called Water Mastery as well, which is a really interesting modality, and Ayurveda yoga massage as well. So
Nice. Very nice.
yeah, I
Very
kind of
nice set. Well, very complementary to each other.
yeah, and it was this, I suppose, this journey of exploring and being. I'd say I'm quite open minded anyway, but I just hadn't explored that side
Yeah.
of things. Um, and having gone down that avenue, you know, I I think it did it took about 2 years to come off the antidepressants for me, but bit by bit, incorporating the yoga, the meditation, finding the stillness, taking the time out, slowing down, just weaving all these different modalities in. And the reason why I did the courses was I thought I want to know how these work. I want to
Yeah.
understand. And then I wanted to be able to help those closest to me as well, whether that's friends, family members, and just understanding how it works. And I find it really quite healing, not only to me, sorry, to the person that you're doing the treatment like for, but actually to ourselves as well. It's
Yeah.
very yeah.
I do.
Um
I go up and I do sessions with my clients, and I'm in my space, and it smells incredible, and aromatherapy, and I've got all the candles lit, and I've got the salt lamps going, and I just sit up there, and I'm like, I am instantly relaxed just being in my room.
Yeah.
ready to deal with those clients. And I do find that there is a therapy to it for me at the same time as helping them. There is
Yeah.
it's a real zen to it that I absolutely adore. Um, and what did I read the other day about Reiki? That even if you never use the Reiki that you've learned, just by getting attuned, even if it's just on the Reiki 1, let alone Reiki 2, you
Yeah.
basically change your energetic blueprint forever in the most positive sense. Like, you will always
Wow.
radiate differently now. You will always
Really?
be energetically more positive,
Yeah.
more flow, more light. And I absolutely love that. You know, just like that's incredible just by that sheer attunement.
Yeah, and I'd not heard that, and hearing you talk about it like that, I can really feel that
Yeah.
because from that path that I then went on, that journey, I do really have that sense of calm that, even when things are just going wrong, and it could have it could have that way of turning really stressful and you can feel things ramping up. I can really pull myself back now. I almost feel at a distance with it. I can take that step back. I take a deep breath and I almost like watch from afar and really distance myself. So with what you've
Mm.
said there, I can really understand that and feel that. So I think that's probably been one of the biggest shifts from before when I was sort of everything was fast, hard, like I'd be like a coil, like things would tighten up, like a
Yeah.
spring. Um, Whereas now it's enabled me to really distance myself and slow down. And that then helps those around us as well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
It does, and
Um,
I think the thing I love about it is there is no perfection to this. It doesn't make you perfect, doesn't make you have it all figured out or anything else. It's just a matter of just even by a nano, making
yeah.
it better than it was. And every nano we go is better and better and better and better. We are slightly more in control. We are slightly more calm. We are slightly more prepared and aware of what's going to come, what our feelings feel like, and so on. And I think that's it for me because, as all my listeners know very well, my life is pure chaos, always chaos. Running 3 businesses, we've got 2 kids, we've got the house. It is mad, and it's one business is the holistic side, nice and calm and chill and
Yeah.
mellow, and the other 2 businesses are catering, and there's nothing mellow about
Yeah.
catering. It
Wow.
is
Yeah.
a busy, pressure-filled environment. No matter how calm you try to make it, it will always be pressure-filled because it's timed.
Yeah.
So life is manic and chaotic, but I deal with my chaos better now than I did
Mm,
last year, and definitely better than I did 5 years ago when I started all of this, and so on. And you kind of look and go, well, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to be better than I was when I was at my worst, when I
definitely.
was ramping up to depression, when I was definitely in the throes of anxiety, when I had absolutely no control over any of my emotions whatsoever, and they were totally dominating me. And if I am better now, that's it. That's good for me. Just keep taking one step forward
Yeah.
and just getting a little bit better every day.
Yeah. And I think it feels, and I've said to my daughters, so I've got 2 daughters and a stepson, and I remember saying to my daughters one day, we were just having a chat, and I said, because they're dealing with, we all deal with emotions and thoughts and feelings, all of that comes up, and when you're talking to your children or loved ones and having those, sharing those thoughts and feelings and saying it's okay, like, and trying to talk through the best way of dealing with some of these. And I remember saying to them, it's almost like a storm is coming. And, I didn't say to them at this time, but what would happen to me before is like the storm would almost come and get me, and I would be in it before I knew about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it feels like I see the storm, I start to feel things ramping up, and then I have an umbrella now and I, get the umbrella up, and
Right.
whatever those protective things are, whether it's saying, no to more things, like I'm going to have to slow down. I'm going to have to say, no, I can't do this or that. Um, I'm going to have to make sure that, that's that time, especially, like you're saying there, running 3 businesses, you've got children, life is busy. It can be really difficult for us to take that time out as a mother, wife, carer, whatever hats that we're wearing. It can be difficult to take that time out. Um, but on that journey as well, I started to explore Buddhism just to kind of
Oh, wow.
yeah, the philosophy around Buddhism. And I went to a local Buddhist place in Chelmsford, a Buddhist temple, and the people there, are just so kind, caring, compassionate, and it became my sort of safe place, I suppose, for about 2 years. And I didn't go there every week. I might, pop down for a few sessions. I did a introduction to Buddhism course, and the feelings I remember learning, they were saying about separating ourselves from, we are not our thoughts. And there's different words and names for what they call these different aspects of it. I never forget, I was driving to the Buddhist centre one night and I was late. I was stuck in traffic. And I remember just catching, it was almost like I'd come out of my body, and I was looking at myself and I was holding onto the steering wheel and I was so
Oh, I'm
uptight.
in
And
that stress. Yeah.
yeah, and I could feel my heart going. I could feel, it must have been the cortisol. And I was so uptight. And all of a sudden, I just burst out laughing because I said to myself, Marie, what are you doing? You
You can't control it.
no, but that really taught me, as did the yoga and the meditation and all these other things that I'd been sort of studying along the way. That was like a real visual and physical thing that I was able to see and go, wow, look at what you're doing to your body, just
Yeah.
I've sort of I unpeeled myself from the steering wheel and just said, I can't do anything about the traffic. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to see if I can get there okay, and if not, I'm going to turn around and come back. Um, and and that has really helped me in other situations, whether I've been at work, whether there's been family stuff going on, just whatever. Um, but going on that journey and collecting, I always see it like puzzle pieces.
Yeah,
And
sort of like collecting that information. Yeah.
yeah, and just
Yeah, that
we're all,
knowledge.
yeah, and we're all different and kind of what works for us, what resonates with us.
Yeah.
And I, after a couple of years, then started to explore different modalities of, I was looking at maybe doing counseling and different types of therapies. And one that really resonated with me was, it's called Rapid Transformational Therapy by a lady called Marissa Peer. And I just was genuinely interested and thought, okay, I want to just learn and explore. And with any of these methods or modalities, I like to just learn and see, okay, what can I take away from it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
for whether it's for me, whether it's for loved ones, friends, family, whatever. And I think it was about a 500-hour course, and there was a 5-day live in-person event as well. And there was different aspects to that course. So like neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. And again, I've kind of like taken little bits out of that and kind of woven it into something that I find helpful for me, for my clients as well. Um, and adding in the coaching element as well, because what I find is when any of us make these changes or we identify root causes, or it's kind of like, okay, well, something's happened and we can go back to
Yeah.
what that is, but what do we do now? I'm all about moving forward and like, how do we make progress and heal, grow, transform, and yeah, just move on from whatever's happened, you know, and I always want to be such a, like, a positive, empowering thing as well, that people
Yeah.
learn tools and techniques and strategies.
No, that's good. The first time I heard of this kind of therapy was actually, I think she was my second guest, local lady, hypnotherapist called Nicole Child. And
Oh, I
she
know her.
very, do you?
I've
She was like so
seen her.
specific about the fact that she did hypnotherapy, and that's what she did, but she is solution focused.
Yes,
And that was
yeah.
the first time I'd ever heard anyone use such a specific term. And after speaking with her, having her on the podcast, knowing her and chatting with her, and then other people since, that you start to realize that your brain can get very stuck.
Yeah.
If it's thinking about something traumatic, it believes it's happening now because you've brought it forward. So you feel
Yeah.
that way, you react that way. Everything about your body is in that manner of it's occurring again because we're talking about this thing that is, in my memory, in my emotions, but also triggering me right
Yeah.
now. So I love that solution focused concept because it's all very well us talking about what things that have happened and things that have troubled us or brought us to a point, but you need to be able to move on from that and
Yes.
healthily. You've got to go forward healthily, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'd never really explored hypnotherapy before doing this, this course, and like so many other people, I thought hypnotherapy is a bit, I don't say woo-woo, because I actually love woo-woo now, like woo-woo.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic book called Why Woo-Woo Works. It's
Oh, I love
brilliant.
that book. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but with the hypnotherapy, I find it fascinating because, how many of us, for example, we'll say to ourselves, I can't do this, or I'm never going to be able to do that. And we tell ourselves these stories over and over again. And a big inspiration for me, I'm not really into celebrities, but I've always looked up to athletes like Olympians and stuff like that. And people like Muhammad Ali used to say, "I am the greatest" before he was. So that was his like blueprint. He was telling himself all the time. And with the
But athletes
hypnotherapy,
do that, don't they? They actually
yeah,
do. The self-talk is huge with them. It's almost like they are putting themselves into a trance. I am winning. I have got the gold. The gold belongs to me. It's already in my hand. It's incredible what they mentally go through before they go and run a race or whatever it is.
yeah, because I listened to a fantastic podcast with Usain Bolt. He's another one of my favourites, and he was saying that the person doing the interview asked him, do you think about losing? And he said, no, I don't think about losing. He said, if you think about losing, you've already lost. And
Yeah.
he said, if when I have lost, he said, I then learn from it. What can I implement going forward?
What's a lesson?
Yeah, and I think it's something like 80% of Olympians, like, so people that have got, bronze, silver, or gold medals, have practice a form of visualization,
Yeah.
which is very similar to hypnotherapy. It's thinking about what that's going to look like. And I did sprint a marathon canoeing. Well, I did it for the army, but as a how old? I was 14 to 16 years of age, and I did sprint a marathon kayaking for Barking and Dagenham. And myself and a friend, we canoed 125 miles. There's a race called Devizes. Yeah,
Oh my
I know.
God.
There's a race called Devizes to Westminster. So Devizes in Bath to Westminster in London. And anyone under the age of 19, you have to do it over 4 days. But actually, that really hurts because you canoe sort of, I don't know, 30 odd miles, then you rest for a few hours, and then you go again. But all the aches and the pains and
Yeah,
the
everything
cuts on
steps
your
in.
hands. Um, and that was a real grueling race. They say that it's the equivalent of, they call it the canoeist's Everest. That's it.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
But when we were training for certain races, we had a sports psychologist. Now, that was in the late 90s. And this sports psychologist would get us to sit there, we'd close our eyes, and we would visualize the race. So, say it was 100 meters or 200 meters, we would close our eyes and we would know, right, we would do 8 paddle strokes either side, then we would go into it, and we would practice the race in our head, even
Yeah.
down to what we're wearing, our boat, our breathing techniques, so that when we were there on the start line, we'd had it all rehearsed. It
It's
felt
all,
like we'd
yeah,
been there.
like auto reflex.
Yeah. So I think that was another reason why when I looked at this modality, I thought, yeah, I really like the different elements and I can see how and why it works. But yeah, the athlete side of thing, I could, talk about all day because I absolutely love their mindsets. Um, but having done that, and I suppose woven into all of this with the yoga and the meditation and all that side of things, and the Reiki, I then started exploring open water swimming, and it had been something that I'd been terrified of. I'd enjoyed running and cycling, and I'd always wanted to do a triathlon, but the water. So it sounds strange because I did sprint a marathon kayaking, which is on the water, but you didn't really go in the water because these were long fiberglass boats. They're not the short plastic ones that you normally,
Yeah.
Um, but to actually be in the water, even now I'm still scared about things touching me, seaweed or like if it's jellyfish, and I scream.
Really?
And I had this like sod it moment. It was actually a swear word that began with an F, like an F it moment. And
But it's okay, you can say it on here.
oh, brilliant. So I had a massive fuck it moment, and and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go down. I'm going to go down to the beach. And so this was just prior to lockdown. And I met an amazing group of ladies on the beach. Now, you can go on Facebook or social media or internet, whatever it may be. And I've always found I can do a search of that local area like I did yesterday. So I'm in Scotland at the moment. I put Troon in and I found an amazing group of ladies and I just went and randomly met them on the beach. But I there was something about getting into the water, and you know how I explained when I went for the sound bath and my mind was all over the place. I found that when I got into the water, when it takes your breath away, even when it's quite warm, the water feels cold. But I'd get into the water and it would take your breath away and everything shuts down because your body, your mind is focusing on keeping you
Focusing.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember it taking my breath away and then just looking and seeing and hearing the water, seeing the sunshine, and then seeing birds. I love animals, all animals, but I would see the birds fly past, and it felt like absolute bliss. It felt
Yeah.
so peaceful,
Very
and
peaceful.
yeah, I just and I mean that's 6 years ago now, and from that, I made some amazing friends. I mean, we would go down to the beach, and all of us, I suppose we all have things going on in life, no matter how big
Oh,
or small it is. And some days we'd be down there, we'd be laughing, or sometimes we'd be crying. Sometimes we'd be chatty, and other times you didn't want to talk. You wanted to go there and just feel, hear, touch, like, I don't know, just smell that. But having people around you, but they would kind of sense that, that person doesn't necessarily want to talk today. Let's just be with them. Let's
yeah.
just be there. Um,
Which is
and
sometimes enough, just being.
yeah, and I think as well that is something that I'd struggled with because I couldn't just be. I mean, so many of us can't just be, do we? We're meant to be,
No.
what's it, human beings, not human doings. And and I I'm a bit all or nothing, I suppose, and that's what gets me into trouble. That's what makes me speed up and take on too much. But um I decided that I was going to carry on sort of confronting this. I suppose it had been a fear of the unknown in the water. And I decided to sign up for a triathlon. And the way my mind works is I need to understand, I need to feel safe and build that knowledge up and the understanding. So I trained as well, I wanted to train as an open water swimming coach, but you have to train as a swim teacher first. So
Okay.
I trained as a swim teacher, then trained as a open water swim coach, and then I did a beach lifeguard course as well. So I did all these courses and thought, wow, I can get in the water. I feel safe. I can keep myself safe, but also the people that I'm swimming with as well. And this initially was just as I suppose, a personal thing, not a business or professional thing. This was just another one of those learning, growing, and developing and building that knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, but and I don't know if I don't think I've mentioned it before, but I've decided. So next June, I've signed up to swim the English Channel. Um,
No, you haven't said
it's
anything about
I
that.
know. So it's part of a relay team. So
Oh
what
my
that means is
gosh.
you swim for about an hour at a time, and you can't wear a wetsuit though. There's like all these different rules and regulations, which makes sense. If you swim for an hour and you've got to peel this wetsuit off and then try and put it back on, it wouldn't be very nice. But the I love having a goal or a challenge. Now, what that means for the next year is that I can have, a routine, some structure. I get to meet well, I'm currently moving from Southend in Essex, so southeast of is it southeast of England? Does that come under as
What
southeast?
Essex?
Yeah, or
No,
East
east.
Anglia?
Totally east. Yeah,
See,
East Anglia.
I should know this. I've only like been like born and brought up and kind of lived there most of my life. But so I'm moving from there up to the west of Scotland, so a place called Ayr. And I'm so excited because I'm exploring different, I'm going to be swimming in lochs. I've got to say it properly, lochs. I can't say it properly, but you're meant to pronounce the CH. I need to practice. Um, so lochs, rivers, waterfalls. I'm going tomorrow. I'm catching a ferry to the Isle of Arran, and I'm just enjoying this exploring and meeting all these different people and just it's just weaving that journey of exploring and adventure, and you've got connection, you have nature, it's change of scenery and all of that's I'm weaving into the slowing it down, the yoga, the meditation, the taking time out for myself, but then doing my full-time job in search and rescue. So there's the kind of it's quite exciting. It is high pressure because there's a lot of responsibility there. You when you get a call out, well, off you go and you're straight away. You have to be focused. You're setting everything up. You have to be in the zone. But then being able to then do things like the therapy and the coaching, I find it so fulfilling. I learn so much, like I love helping other people because they have everything already inside of them. It's all
Yeah.
there. And I feel like is it archaeologist? Because you're sort of dusting things away that's there and you're bringing it out of them. You're helping them, that you're like shining a light on it. And sometimes I know in the past, I've needed other people to actually say, like, to be a bit of a, don't sound cringy, but a bit of a cheerleader to say, yeah,
Yeah,
Marie,
like a
you've got
guide.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I find it so much easier to doing it for other people, but we all, I think, need that to say, yeah, what you're doing is amazing. You've got this. And even if you need to just lend a bit of that of someone else to get you going,
Yeah.
to empower them, to get them on their way. And the swim group that I've created, it's like it's a Facebook community, but it's online, and it can be worldwide. It doesn't have to just be like down to a little local area, because that's what I found. A lot of these, I mean, I suppose there are a few nationwide ones as well. But I wanted it to be a space for like everyone and anyone to come along, to ask all the questions. But more importantly, the space is for, it's inclusive. It's for, everyone's welcome to come and be part of that, to share their stories of, maybe where they're swimming or what they get out of it. And
Yeah.
I think it was such a big part of my journey into, I suppose, like healing really. And which is, it's always ongoing, isn't it? You can't just go, that's it, I'm healed, I'm it's a
I know
practice.
that's what we
It's
want. I know that's
yeah.
what everybody would love, but I quite like that it is a permanent journey or a path, however you want to look at it. It's never ending. That makes it sound like it's hard work all the time, and it's not all the time. There
No.
are moments where it gets harder, when you have to deal with a lot of stuff and unearth a lot of things and so on. But the end result, I think I like that it keeps going. It means that I now feel like I will constantly evolve as I move forward. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like that a few years ago. I felt like I was done, sort of just stuck like that. This is who I
Yeah.
am, and that's it. Whereas now I feel like I have the opportunity to keep healing, as you say, keep healing this and fixing that and working on this and learning that and growing here. And wow, I mean, it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, so I find it quite fun, like what you're saying as well. It's just we're able to, look back, and now I can look back and say, oh, maybe, I would react or respond in a different way back then. And I feel like, many years ago, things were like locked down. Everything was quite like rough, tough, solid, all locked off and closed, and things that, like I say, had been buried. Whereas now I feel like I'm in a state of flow that I can just be a lot more reflective. Yeah, reflective and
Yeah.
observant, and
Yeah.
sort of distance myself. And the thing that I'm enjoying as well is that, especially with my daughters and my stepson, or, whoever, family, friends, when they're going through things, is having that understanding. I don't, it's not about giving people, we can't give people the answers or anything like that, but asking the right questions,
Yeah.
or posing something to get, because I remember hearing this saying, it was we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are, as the person we are. And sometimes by posing a question, or like, I remember someone close to me, I would get quite worried if I saw that they weren't potentially in, well, weren't really in a good headspace. And I would start, are you okay? And I would get really sort of worried. Well, straight away, surely that person can feel it's the energies you're picking up on. They could probably hear in my voice and seeing my body language maybe, and it was all coming from a good place of me desperately trying to help someone. However, I started to learn things like, I would say, oh, look at that bird over there. Or I would just talk about something completely random, and the person would just start chatting away. It would like lift them out of that place, that space. And
Yeah.
it's just things like that that help get people out of that space. And yeah, is it weird? I don't know. Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I think a lot of us, we want to help so much sometimes. But you can't force someone to help themselves, and they have to. I say this to a lot of my clients. Like, yes, you come to me and you get healing from me, but
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
your cure. Actually, what
yeah.
you do from here onwards is the cure. This is the assistance. This is the help. This is the support, the guidance, and everything else. But the rest of it comes from within, from you taking a step forward, or you trying to heal something, or whatever the case may be. And uh yeah, I know what you mean. We just want to go up to people and kind of go, can I fix you? Can I help
Yeah,
you? Please let me make you feel better. You look so sad. Let me make you feel better.
yeah.
But that's not what we're here for, is it? It is to sort of, like you said, like shine a light a little bit, show them
Yeah.
that a different mindset can help sometimes, and that there is positivity out there. There is more to this world than whatever their mind is seeing at that moment. And it is quite hard. And I was listening to you earlier, and I was thinking when you were talking about becoming sort of the calmer version of yourself when you were sort of
Mm.
doing the sound bath and you were learning all this stuff and so on. And I thought then, I wondered if that's actually what brought you to your job now, because surely in your full-time work as the search and rescue,
Yeah.
you need to be calm, right? Like in that
Yeah.
moment, yeah, focused, definitely, responsible, definitely. But surely you're that sort of like in that moment, if someone's rescuing me and they're kind of panicking themselves,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not gonna make me feel safe. Like a really zen kind of vibe coming off of someone like, "I've got this. You're fine. You're safe."
Yeah.
That's I mean, is that kind of how you got to this job?
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination actually. Yeah, so I think I would say that is a big part of it actually, of being able to have those qualities of being able to remain calm, um, in those sort of environments is a must. And then I think when you're more settled and calm, then or even the prep work, having the right equipment with you, the planning, the like everything that goes with it, you need to have everything not in order, but if your mind is chaotic, then everything around you is going to be like that as well. So you wouldn't then be good at a job like that because it's not just about what happens in the aircraft, like leading up to that. It's about everything you do before and after as well. So,
Yeah.
um, I think the other side of it is um, like I say, whilst I failed a lot of my exams and things like that at school, and I always say this quote, those people like loved ones, they always go, oh, like especially my daughters, they always hear me say it, but it's about IQ is not a good indicator of how well a child will do. It's their sheer grit and determination. So whilst I wasn't strong at school or very academic, I was really sort of driven, determined, stubborn. I'd say like resilience, I would say is a big thing for me. I think I've been able to bounce back from situations, but before I didn't handle it very well because, like I say, I buried it, and that's what we shouldn't really do because you will
Right.
have to deal with it at some point. But I think it's helped me with the jobs that I have done because I've applied for jobs that sometimes I thought, I don't think I'm going to get this job, but I've gone for it anyway. So even if I've been afraid of something, I still will pursue it. I will try my damnedest to get it. So as I'll speak to some people and they'll say, oh, I can't do this or that, and they won't take action. And, I think I'd rather give something a go and fail than to not give it a go. So, and I know that's quite difficult. I think it gets easier the more you do that, actually, because I know some people are afraid of failing. But when you keep testing yourself or challenging yourself, and that's why, like, I talk to a lot of people about imposter syndrome as well. And I think
Yeah,
actually we can use it. We can use that as, I see imposter syndrome as like a toddler jumping up and down, shouting things at us. And I think, what's it trying to tell me? Okay, well, I'll give it the evidence. I'll give it the facts that it needs. And if you're feeling imposter syndrome, it's because you're in an environment where you're testing and challenging yourself.
definitely out the
So
comfort zone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so I think we should
Yeah.
embrace it. So I think it's like the yin and the yang now. I think I'm starting after what I'm 43 years of age, and yes, it's going to continue to learn, grow, develop, and evolve. But I think I'm starting to finally get that balance by incorporating, a healthier lifestyle, but practicing the more holistic side of things has definitely um, got me to where I am without a shadow of doubt. And I'll carry on with, the Reiki, the water mastery, the open water swimming, and just, you know, yeah, staying on that track.
Yeah, you are literally the epitome of what a bigger picture looks like. So I was thinking
Mm,
about this the other day, and you know when you sit back and you have to really kind of like just take a deep breath and just kind of go, okay, if what I'm looking at now opened up and I could see the rest of it, maybe I would understand why whatever. I actually can't remember what it was now, but why X
yeah,
is happening right now. Why is this happening right now? Because you can't see all of this. It's like a
no,
painting that you're only seeing that part of, and eventually you get to see the rest of it. I don't know why I moved to Cyprus when I was
yeah,
just over the age of I just broke 20 years old. I don't know why I moved there, but I met my husband. I now have two children. So you kind of go
yes,
bigger picture. Don't know, and so on. I don't know why we became self-employed instead of continuing to work, but you've got to see the bigger picture. And I quite like you. I take a lot of really out there leaps, like, just out of
yeah,
nowhere, I'll just like, "I'm doing this, by the way," and everyone kinda
yeah,
goes, "Where did that come from?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And
yeah,
as all my
yeah,
listeners know, the podcast is one of them. I didn't even
yeah.
really know what a podcast was. I didn't know what I wanted to talk about, but I knew I wanted to make a podcast. And then when you just sort of sit there and go, "Well, we're gonna support you, but we don't really know why you're doing this." And you're like, "Yeah."
It's
But
amazing.
you are the epitome of that kind of that big picture vibe of I look at you with your work, and I think that had you not felt the way that you felt, had you not experienced the things that you experienced, and had
Definitely.
your own, as you call it, your Pandora box moment, where it all comes flying out at you, then you wouldn't be able to be the person you are helping other people because you wouldn't know how it feels to
Yeah,
need that amount of support and help. Likewise, I feel that you had to go through all of those things. You had to go through that
yeah,
transition to make you the person that is the search and rescue, for instance. It's almost like that job was
yes,
waiting for you in the big picture over here somewhere, but it was waiting for you to be the balanced person that you are now,
yeah,
who could stay calm, who could separate herself from her home life while she's doing something important, separate her own fears, anxieties, troubles, emotions, whatever it may be, her own stresses and worries while
yeah.
she's doing her job. I had this conversation with a client yesterday. She said, like before we did the Reiki, and I said, I need to like remove myself
Mm,
before I begin. And she kind of looked at me and I said to her, it's what we do. So we don't, it's the just for today, isn't it? Just for today.
yeah,
I will not be angry. I will not be this and so on. And you
mm,
remove yourself so that your stuff doesn't stay in the room with you when you do these therapies.
yeah,
Um, it's incredible. It's one of the most powerful things I think I've ever been taught in my life. I can
yeah,
actually be really having a hard time with my kids and losing my marbles. And then if I go into, sort of like gas and I do the
mm,
meditation before the Reiki, it's like
yeah,
I've removed myself from it completely, and when you come back to it, you kinda go, I'm not mad about any of that stuff
yeah,
anymore. I can't be bothered. I don't see the point anymore, is it? It's being
yeah.
silly now, and all of a sudden you go, "Wow, that's crazy," because like 10 minutes ago, I could have absolutely gone like a rocket.
Yeah, yeah.
But you are the bigger picture in, like, a person format. You really are,
Oh, thank
and I think
you.
that's amazing. People need to trust, not need to, that's the wrong word. That's so, like, forceful. Like, I believe that if we can trust that process, knowing that those messages, they come to us all the time. Those little guidances, the one that took you to an army office out of absolutely nowhere and kind of really said, "Well, you asked, here you go. This is your solution." Took you on that adventure and that journey and so on and so forth. If we can pick up on those synchronicities, those messages, those things that are really brought to our attention, those hints, some of them aren't
Yeah.
hints, some of them are absolute slaps in the face,
Yeah,
like if we can
yeah,
listen, I
yeah.
do believe that the bigger picture is pretty impressive for everyone. It really is.
Yeah, and I think it's having that I know what you were saying about the belief and the sort of like, I suppose, faith. I use that word, but like with the job that I'm doing now, before I took this job on, I was a consultant for a defense company for a while. The money was great. I was on quite a lot of money, but do you know what? I was so unhappy. I
Yeah.
worked with some amazing people. The people were great, but I wasn't aligned. I felt, what am I doing? I felt that feeling of being quite uptight again. And when I saw this job, it's the job's fun and exciting, but it was my way of moving from where I was, which is a lovely area, but I want the hills, I want the adventures, I want
Yeah.
to go swimming, and so many people said to me, "What about the money? What about your pension?" And there was all these questions, and none of it matters, and we've had to find a way of making the numbers work, the financial side, which was a little bit scary initially. But again, it was one of these things that came up, like the Army Careers Centre, for example, where when the opportunity was there, I was like, this is the right way.
That's the
I, tr-
one.
I trust and know that this is happening for a reason, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to make it work. And I've not always known what steps are going to come next, but I know to take that first step, and that I'll figure a way out going forward, which is still a little bit scary, but it's exciting. It's yeah.
Which I think brings us round to a conversation we had when we first spoke about manifestation, and how I would say that probably yourself and definitely myself, I have tried to manifest a certain type of life.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, I'm sure if we wanted to focus in and really make ourselves millionaires and so on, we probably would
Yeah.
give it a good go. It's not that you can't, it's I don't think I'm actually aligned to that anyway. I don't
No.
think I want that life. I think if I wanted to, I'd have tried my best to do it already. And manifestation is not magic. And I'm sure that we
No.
had this conversation. It's not magic. It's all about that actionable step that you take forward to get to the goal that you're aiming at. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen today just because you deem it so, but the end goal is there. And I like that what you've just said, because that's what it seems to me is like somewhere right back. Again, we're in this bigger picture again, aren't we? Like right back,
Yeah.
kind of manifested in your mind how you want to feel, how you want to um, see yourself looking. You want that more alignment. You're looking for more calm in your life. You want to feel that peace, not that stress. And
Yeah.
then all the way down here, where you've taken this job, you're now moving to Scotland. You're on less money, but you're happier than you've ever been.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
literally brought it into manifest just by taking those actionable steps, and not always
Yeah.
knowing what they meant, but just trusting that process.
And do you know what's really, when you were saying about that, it kind of reminded me that, so my boss was a really good friend, who I'd worked with previously. And what happened, I think it was towards the end of last year, stuff was going on, and I was a little bit, maybe a bit emotional, I was feeling a little bit stressed. And I was chatting to him on an online call, actually, and he said to me, "Marie, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm fine." I didn't really want to talk because I knew I'd get quite emotional. But bless him, he was like, "No, Marie, are you okay?" To which I then burst into tears and started, I'm crying, and I just said, "I just want to run away and live in the hills." So I said that at the back end of last year, not
Yeah.
knowing that this job would come up. I'm not living in the hills, but I can just drive not very far away at all. And there I am, at Loch Lomond, or I'm, there's loads of places around here that I what I wanted, and I knew in my mind when I made that comment, I wanted to feel like I could breathe. I wanted to
Yeah. That
see the
freedom.
greenery, the freedom, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I couldn't even say it verbally. It was in my mind. It was this like kind of feeling that I was looking for. And I just so happened to be chatting to a friend who I'd worked with before and said, I wasn't too happy in my job. And she said, "Marie, there's this job up in Scotland." And I was like, "What?" And everything just aligned. And these opportunities just come up. And like you say, it doesn't mean you can sit there and go, "I want to be a millionaire." Because like you, I wouldn't want that. I want to feel challenged,
No,
but
I
do
think if we
fulfilling
wanted it,
things.
we could try for that. But I mean, I'm sure you see it. I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this podcast probably notice it on Facebook.
Mm,
There's always a millionaire,
yeah.
or even more like a billionaire, a holistic person that all she did was imagine it and, dream that it will come. And that's
Yeah.
amazing for her. I
Yes.
love it. Good for you. I don't think I'd know how to spend the money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've probably got a list as long as my arm. I don't think I could cope with what it takes to be that person.
Yeah.
And I don't think I
Yeah.
am that person at all. I think I just need my financial stability. I think I'm a bit like you. I'd probably take the lower paid job as long as I could fiddle the numbers around so that I got everything paid and done and sorted and, later life is kind of covered. But I was happier
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
job. Definitely. Yeah, the millionaire life, not for me. Not for me at all.
No, no. But running around for me in the hills and,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going to when I go to the Isle of Arran tomorrow, there's, Highland cows, there's seals, there's
Oh,
waterfalls.
oh my
You may never see
God.
me again. I might decide to just I'm joking. But, yeah, it's just exciting. It's, never quite knowing. I don't limit myself in terms of needing to know exactly what's gonna be happening, and kinda just going with that flow. So I definitely feel a lot more free than I've ever felt in all my years. So,
Which is
yeah.
amazing. But you definitely got that earthy element connection you have. I mean, clearly nature means the world to you. You love animals, you love being in water, you love being surrounded by trees and grass and
Yeah.
everything. You're obviously just a very earthy person that I mean, this doesn't work for everyone. City life, town life, village life, it doesn't matter how small you bring it. Sometimes just it's still too much for people. That just doesn't work for them. I
Yeah.
mean, when I lived in Cyprus, it was a small village. I suppose in itself, it probably felt quite busy, and it wasn't until I came here that I kind of went, oh my God, it's just like so loud, like, wow.
Yeah.
And you forget when you're away from it. And I think the thing I miss most about Cyprus is you can always touch earth, sand, sea, you're surrounded by it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Literally,
that
from
sounds
all
amazing.
edges, you are surrounded by the water. And I was talking with a client yesterday about water. That element is just, I'm pretty sure it calms everybody. Even if they don't realize it, I'm pretty sure water just calms everyone. It's just got such a
Yeah.
flow.
And there's been times where I've gone down to the beach, at Southend and say it's not been okay to swim. There might have been pollution or, for whatever reason you can't get in the water. Sometimes I've just sat there and
Yeah.
I've lit an incense stick and say, met a friend and we've got cacao. Cacao, is that how you say it? Is, isn't it? I always
Yeah.
pronounce it
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll just be I can be sat there by myself just watching the waves rolling in and hearing it,
Yeah.
watching how the sun glistens off the water and, it's just I know I find it really healing, so
Yeah. I find it very healing as well. I feel like it takes me back to where I belong.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, my love, it's been wonderful speaking with you. Honestly, I think we
Oh,
could
thank
probably,
you.
as I can with a lot of people, I'm like, I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah. No, it's been
But yeah,
lovely. No,
no,
thank you so much. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's been
thank you.
fabulous. And learning about what you do and how you got here, it's just been absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank you for having
yeah,
me.
you're very welcome. And guys, until next time, take care of yourselves.